fucked. Okay, I know where this is going. Done in by a vengeful Aussie.
My greatest moment.
Looking for things that were said by Big Steve. Steve made some comments about his own family. He erased it cause it made Ben angry. He got fucked by a man down under.
Good time to finish. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second Australian Minifan special. I'm your co-host, Menas. I'm here with Jamie.
G'day,
Jamie,
Menas.
welcome to the studio. It's good we're actually together for this special.
Yeah, it's good to be back together again as well, and in this fantastic studio. So this is going to be, I think, better being in person than as we were when it cut out on the live stream last time. So we won't have that problem today.
So hello, Minifans. Hello, Mincels. Welcome to Sydney, Australia. This is our continued campaign to get the KMS show down under. We've got live shows planned. We've got Minihane 2024 now.
24,
I've moved it forward a year. I thought 2025 was too far away.
It's a long way away.
Yeah, 2024 Minihane Sydney. So start to book your tickets because it's going to be huge. And we've got a lot to talk about in this episode.
Yep.
We're going to wrap up all the show news. We've got some listener questions.
Yep.
There's some more Steve lies to expose.
Not really a surprise.
Not a surprise. And then I'm going to pose a question to end this podcast, which I want you all to consider. But look, I thought because it's 2 a.m. Boston time,
Yep.
it would be a good time to call my good friend Steve Robinson. So, should we try him?
Yeah, now's as good a time as any. Very good chance.
Let's see if he picks up. I mean, he's not recording a show tomorrow, so he should.
Automated voice messaging system. 20757.
He's obviously put his phone on sleep because he knows Minifans.
Yeah.
Let's try one more time.
Contact him all through the night.
You know, Steve and I have got such a good bond now after I...
To an automated voice messaging system.
Hell, you dickhead sleeping. Always fucking arsehole.
Always stuck in the Aussie Minifans.
Yeah, so let's get straight into the Kirk Minihane Show news. What do you think of Kirk's special solo episode that was released Monday, Boston time?
I liked it. I was looking forward to it. I couldn't wait for it to come out. And, it's good to really get in behind the scenes of what he goes through on a day-to-day basis, and he's 100% right with the way mental illness hits you. And I saw every day, all day today, I'd look into Twitter and you'd see that little quote from him that it's going to hit you and it's going to be real hard to get back up, but you have to just get back up. And, you know, someone who suffered from mental illness, you'd arguably say still am.
You?
Yeah, it's huge to see him. That sort of quote is huge.
How deep is your battle go?
To be honest, when he describes what he goes through, where there's times where it's really good and then there's times where it comes back, it was really similar to me. And then listening to Dee Dee on the podcast, on the Minifan Show podcast the other day with Real DC, and obviously her symptoms were also very similar to mine. I reached out to her and thanked her for how much it's going to help me because, you know, in the past I've been recommended medication for it, but I don't
You
really
probably
want
do
it.
with someone looking at you.
Yeah. But like I didn't.
Do you self-medicate?
No, not at all. Can't with my job, but I always thought like if I took it, it's going to change me. Why I won't be who I am. Like Kirk always says, but you know he's strong enough to admit that he needed to take it, and now I reaching out to Dee Dee and talking to her, and it's probably about time I went to the doctor and maybe hit him up about it. Obviously, this last month for me has been incredibly tough. It's going to be tougher moving forward, so it's probably something I need to talk to my doctor about.
Wow,
so.
It seems like Kirk's struggles really resonate with you.
Oh yeah. From the moment it first happened to him and when he first talked about it when he was on WEI, I'd already known what I was going through. I was seeing a psychologist, still am, and his troubles is exactly what I go through. There's times where I can be awesome and I can feel great for 3, 4, 5 months, and then there's a good month longer where I'm just hit with it. I feel like crap. I don't want to do the things I do. I'm very introverted. It just affects me, and I can't really have that in what I'm doing at my job at the moment. I have to be strong, especially at this point of it.
See, my thing is, I've had touches of mental illness, and that certainly runs in my family. My sister's been in inpatient care just in the last couple of weeks, so it's really in my face. But I can't imagine feeling suicidal. Maybe you can, but I felt absolutely shit sometimes, and sometimes lack the motivation, but I've never actually thought I want to end it. So I can't understand how someone can feel that bad, and if someone does feel that bad, it must be awful.
Yeah, it's hard. when it first started to hit me when I was like early 20s, started coming through when my ex left me and we had kids together, it started hitting me there a lot. And suicide didn't really hit me until, I don't know, maybe with the birth of my last son. It's just like, I'm in a job that I love now. I get paid a good amount of money to do what I do. It's something that I've always wanted to do. It runs in my family, the job, and I just, for some reason, I just still can't be happy. Like, it's still like I'm not good enough. I can't get ahead of everything. And like my partner now is embarking on her dream job, and I'm
Please
so
don't
hopeful.
reach out to Kirk. He said if anyone's struggling, reach out to him. Don't do it. Reach out to one of your relatives.
I'm gonna go to my doctor first. And
can you imagine Kirk getting like 1,000 messages this week of I've been feeling depressed? I mean, if that's not going to push him over the edge, nothing will.
That's the first thing I thought when he said that.
1,000 depressed Minifans getting in contact with him.
I couldn't imagine how many messages he get, and said I'm going to leave him alone because he's going through his struggles. I'll get through mine. It's just great to have the show and this community. Like, it's been a rough week in the community, but.
Yeah, I don't think Kirk sounded that great on the podcast mentally.
Yeah,
he wasn't. Still is struggling. Like, he's amazing. Like, I can't imagine being able to do
what
that
he had to do,
hour and 10-minute show in his state. So,
and he still got onto some things. Like, he went hard at Julie DeCaro, which was great.
He slammed Mike and the Minifans.
Oh, he destroyed Mike and the Minifans. It was he wasn't happy, and you can tell that's probably part of what he's going through. Like,
but it was shit. The last Mike and the Minifans was awful. Did you see it?
No, I've had a rough weekend. I didn't. We'll catch up on it.
You didn't miss anything, but there was a fight between Matt from Providence and the Mincels, Joe from Scranton. So Matt was just talking a load of bullshit to Joe from Scranton about, the old guard this and the old guard that, and you've come in and you look like you're clout chasing and you're doing all this bracket stuff, and all we're seeing on the timeline is all this bracket stuff. And I have to say, at the time, I thought Matt was full of shit. And Kirk said in his episode that he released recently that he agrees that he hates this old guard v new guard.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to embrace the Mincels. These are the young kids. These are guys with energy, passion. They're only going to grow, so we should be encouraging them. I don't think they did anything wrong.
No, I loved the bracket idea. I was honoured. Thank you guys for putting me on it. I didn't really expect to be on it.
Though.
I'm not happy.
How we
Chris
both to be eliminated in the first round is
very
incredible.
Yeah, very anti-Aussie. I'm not happy about that. But I think that bracket came out at a perfect time. Kirk was going away. The show was going away. We needed content. Other shows were stepping up, but that just gave Twitter content for days, and it's still going to carry on.
And they spend a lot of time putting that stuff together. It's really good quality. Some of the videos are really well done. So I think Matt from Providence had an absolute shocker. I think he should actually be banned from Mike and the Minifans for a few weeks. And then at the end of it to say it was all fake, I mean, fuck off. If you're not going to be genuine, then don't go on the show.
Yeah. Mike and the Minifans is not a place to fake it, because it comes off. This is the Kirk Min Show world. This is the Miniverse. Kirk has fought his whole life being called that their show was fake and set up 90% of the time, when it's clearly not. We can't have fake fights on the air. It's got to be serious. And Matt from Providence, he's a member of the old guard. He's been around for a long time. I remember seeing his tweets for a long time.
That was fucking awful. That was just, and I'm Team Mincel now. Despite the fact that the Mincels doxed the fuck out of me, I still like them. Now, one thing that drove me nuts in the latest episode with Kirk was when Steve was laughing hysterically at Mike's text message to Kirk. Now, obviously, the message was funny.
Oh, it was terrible.
But the way Steve laughed, that gleeful, sort of condescending fuck laugh of his, where he looks at Mike as being some dumb blind guy who he can just laugh at. I just don't like that attitude that Steve has.
Yeah, it was it was funny because it was only at the end of the podcast where Steve sort of broke down the message and how contradicting all the statements were. So I get why he's laughing at it, but I mean, he does often act. It's coming up a little bit recently. Obviously, he got slammed down not long ago. But
are you Team Steve?
I am still Team Steve. I want that out there. I want that on the record. Aussie Minifan, Aussie Stooley on Twitter, is Team Steve. I like him. I think he's great for the show. I think it's a great what he does, but he needs to lay off Mike. I mean, Mike... As Kirk said in the early shows, he wouldn't be there if Kirk didn't want him. Obviously, Kirk thinks he's talented. And yeah, it's a good dynamic for them two to shit on each other, but at the end of the day, I mean, what the hell he's supposed to? What's Mike supposed to do? It's he fucked up the message.
And
but
it's just the way Steve looks down at him. I mean, we all know Mike is a fucking idiot at the moment. I mean, that message where he was like, "I hope I haven't upset you." I mean, pull his head out of his own ass.
Bit of a Julie DeCaro there.
Exactly. It was just disgusting.
Making it about himself.
Yeah. But I think I don't like Steve's attitude towards him. Just to clarify with my situation with Steve at the moment,
he's on good terms, I think.
Yeah. Since I fucked him over, I feel a lot better. It's like, you know, it's like when you've it's the thrill of the hunt is over.
Yeah, you've made the catch.
I've got the kill.
Time to move on.
Time to move on.
Yep.
But, and I'll say this if you're watching, and you should be,
you will be.
Please, if you come across any Steve information, send it to him. I am now his watchdog. If he puts a foot wrong, I want to know about it, and I'm going to send it to Kirk. I'm not going, nothing outside the world. We can leave his parents alone. It seems like he's already done enough damage there. So please, anything you hear from Steve or about Steve, please send it to me. I've got some information coming later on. Now, I've got a tip for you. I don't think Blind Mike's going to make it this year in the Kirk Minihane show.
Yeah.
I'll give you, I think that eventually they'll form a street team, and I think
he could be part
Kirk
of that.
and Steve will move him into heading up the street team, and they'll bring on someone on there who's, it's not that Mike's not talented, but he's just not showing enough initiative.
Yeah, you heard Kirk on the podcast the other day mention it. He's like, it's the type of shit that he should have been doing the entire time. Why did it take Kirk to go away for him to start showing initiative? And it's great that he's done it, because it's really funny. The on air with Mike, or taking calls with Mike, that was hilarious, especially when Danny from Bill Ricker called in.
That was a good one.
With some harsh criticism about texting, but. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I love Mike. I think he's hilarious. I think he's great. I think he should do more stand-up on the show.
I love Mike too, but
hilarious,
he's got this personality disorder that can't get over, where he's so down on himself all the time.
I feel like Matt Carano's now an option, he goes back at Kirk now. He doesn't just always laugh at Kirk, and Blind does occasionally. I've listened to I'm going through the back catalogue, and there's a couple of times that they argue with each other. There was one about the girl who texted her boyfriend and told him to kill himself. They went back at each other for a whole 45 minutes to an hour on that show, but it doesn't happen as often as it should. And I think with Matt Carano, I think he'll go at Kirk more, and he's very vibrant. He's maybe a bit too loud for Kirk. He doesn't really like that loud attitude, but I kind of get the sense, that maybe Mike will be moved on to a more, a street team role.
I think Kirk will get a better offsider, and Mike can be the kind of third person that fills in occasionally, and he'll be heading up the promotions and
doing
stuff.
Extra bits around the show, like maybe helping a bit with sales, even though he can't really see.
Maybe he can do more stuff with the interns. Maybe he can appear more on the intern show. That'd probably be a good landing spot for him. He's got that. He's got Mike and the Minifans. So I can see Mike being moved on, and I would like to see someone like Mutt join.
I would love to see Mutt. I'm a massive fan of Mutt. I never understood the hate with him. I thought it was great the way Kirk shit on him all the time, and he just took it perfectly. Didn't care. There was that one time on the show where he threw the pencil back at Kirk, and it got a little bit testy. You could kind of hear in the background Kirk standing up and getting angry, but I think Mutt would be perfect. And he's got to get out of the WEI. It's a sinking ship. He'll be doing the country music countdown.
And he's into the bracket, Mutt, so he's still big KMS listener.
He's a big part of the Miniverse, and he'll try to deny it for the job at WEI, but he's a Minifan.
Now, Kirk said they're doing a show Wednesday, Boston time, and this is something that might interest the Americans out there, that because of the time difference, the Kirk Minihane show is Tuesday to Saturday for us Aussies.
It's good to have it on a Saturday.
So we get a slightly different experience than you. So we're getting that show Thursday. Then he said maybe next week they're going to do a few more shows, but not full time. And then hopefully the week after they'll be back
full time
to regular shows.
I can wait, because I want him to be right, because I want him to be around for a long time. I know he talked about, he might be around in 2 or 3 years' time. I hope he is, because I want to keep going to Madawaska every year.
Yeah, I can't imagine Kirk retiring.
Nah, he's too young and too good. Like he's
the greatest podcast and radio talent the world has ever seen.
In 4 or 5 years' time, he's going to be up there with Joe Rogan. Like look at the universe he's built, and it's not just Minifans that came over from KNC. The Mincels are proof that there are Barstool fans. It's growing, like the podcast growing. It's what Steve always whinged about at the start of the show back when it first started, that Kirk didn't really care about growing, but I think deep down he knew that by not caring and not really pushing it, it's gonna grow.
Yeah, these crazy fucking Mincels are well into it.
Oh yeah, sometimes crazier than the old guard.
That's right. So new shows to come. Can't wait for that. What are your thoughts, Jamie, on my doxing of a couple of weeks ago? It was a furious few days of activity online for me. Obviously, thrilled that I was able to help get Steve suspended, but then the backlash was huge. I mean, I got hundreds of messages, and every second one was "fuck off" and "get fucked." I hope you die, and then interspersed with some messages of support. What was it like for you watching on from the sidelines?
It was a little scary, to be honest, but it's just not called for. We're all parody accounts in our own way, you know. Like, we're real people, but we're all part of this parody universe. We're part of the Miniverse. There's no need to go out and dox you. Like, that's your personal life. That's your business. That's what you do. That's how you provide for your family. And for some absolute moron, absolute dumbass to go after you like that over something that really wasn't your fault. You didn't fight. No. You didn't scrub the audio. No. You merely mentioned... I mean, I noticed it when I started listening back to the shows that it's just completely gone. They start talking about... They have the fight about that stuff, and it's like, I don't even remember listening to that. It's like, oh, because he scrubbed it, of course.
And that fucking lying snake Steve Robinson saying that he didn't remember it. Of course he remembered it.
Absolutely.
When I spoke about it on the Minifan Show, I bet you he was fucking starting to be scared that it would come up.
Get a bit sweaty, yep. And I reckon he might not have thought about it every day, but deep down he would have known eventually Kirk's going to find out about this. The Minifans are crazy. This is going to come up, and it did.
Do you think there's an element that in this world, if you sort of unleash this sort of craziness, that every now and then something like me getting doxed is going to happen? And look, I don't mind being doxed, but I didn't like the 1-star reviews for my restaurant and podcast. Shit, but I have a public personality, a public, look on things. So I'm happy for my identity to be out there, and all you cricket fans out there, Cricket Unfiltered podcast. But there were some real assholes that went a bit too far.
Yeah, and luckily for you, the Minifans did come. Steve backed you 100%, said it's not on, it's not called for. Like, you didn't do this to him, he did it to himself. And I'm glad the 5-star reviews started coming in from the Minifans, because it's just. It's all fun. Like, we'll go at each other. Like, me and Chris Wakefield over the bracket went at each other.
But there's no need to get personal.
No, exactly. You keep the Miniverse on the Miniverse. Let's have our own lives.
And I think it showed for me a divide between the Minifans and the Mincels, that I think it goes back to the struggles you and I had when Kirk was at Entercom. Now my thing was that because Kirk is so amazing and so compelling, you want to listen to him all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And you want to listen to him whenever he's on the radio.
Yep.
And when he was at Entercom, that wasn't always possible.
No.
He was suspended. He was taken off the air.
Yep.
There was also the other stuff, not due to Entercom, but when his parents passed away.
Yeah.
There was a whole period where Kirk was in and out of the show.
Yep.
And it was a real struggle for his diehard fans, because we weren't getting him regularly. We weren't sure when we were going to get him.
Yep.
So I think that kind of, it made the desire to listen to him even stronger.
Oh, yeah. That's where the passion gets built.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes the Mincels don't understand that I come from a place where I'm skeptical that someone like Steve Robinson is going to fuck over Kirk eventually. And that's why, and he already has with the scrubbed audio, so I was right.
Yep.
But that's why I'm so passionate about it. Now, I've sort of since realised I don't think Steve is actually going to fuck over Kirk. I think he's on too good a wicket money-wise.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But, and then like the whole Mincel attitude towards me, I just think they didn't quite understand. I have Kirk's best needs at heart. I want the best for him.
Yeah.
He is podcast God, podcast Jesus, radio God.
Yep. He is the only thing that... Well, not the only thing that gets me through the day, but waking up in the morning, because we get the podcast in the morning here. So when I wake up at 4 a.m. to go to work, there's Kirk's podcast. It is the first thing I listen to in the morning driving or catching the train to work. I don't give a crap about any... like he says, he's ruined every other podcast.
Absolutely.
I'll listen to Kirk's show, and then I'll go pick a random... I want to listen to the Mark Moroso voicemail episode today, so I'll go back to that, because nothing comes close to him. And I think you're right. I don't think they understand how hard it was back in the day. Like, we couldn't get I tried to get the WEI app so I could stream the show when I was working nights, but it was just trash. Never worked. Always crap.
Yeah, I had to get a VPN to do that. And then they, that guy was dumping half the show from the office, exactly. So you wouldn't get it.
Fucking Zambrano.
And I guess with Kirk taking a break at the moment for his mental health, when I went on Mike and the Minifans just after that, I was trying to have a bit of fun and stuff. As someone that loves Kirk. I still think these breaks are going to be a constant part of his life.
Yeah. It's going to happen,
Yeah, so I just see it as almost a refresher for him. I know it's more serious than that, and he needs to get the medication right. But the fact that he was able to realise he was getting in a bad place and go and seek help, I think is a positive step.
When he said that he realised it earlier, he didn't get to that point where he was last time, where he was looking at train schedules, and that was really good. It was really good.
You're a train driver, aren't you?
I am a train driver, yes. So that's
so it might be something for Kirk to do if he comes to Australia.
Yeah, I could take him up front if he wanted.
You could take him out. Take him up front.
Oh, yeah. No, see, that's another thing. Like, when he talks about that, I firsthand know what it's like to have that. You've
never hit someone, though, have you?
I've never hit someone, but we have drivers that talk about it all the time that they have, and it's not something I ever want to do. And when I heard him talking about that, I'd only just started, and it was like, oh man, imagine if I was driving the train that killed the guy that
killed Kirk,
that I look up to like more than anything. And
well, that'd be if he were to do it, he'd want a Minifan to do it.
He probably would, yeah. It would, and definitely not the Minifan he probably expected to kill him either, all the way. So
it's actually an interesting point you make, because I think that it's a bit shit to do that to a train driver. You're better off jumping off a bridge and look, I know these people aren't in a fit state to make the right decisions. They just want to do it as quick
as they can, make it as painless as possible.
But that would be a bad thing for a driver to have to go through.
Yeah, I mean, we get told pretty much you get it every 3 years. So I'm into year number 2 now. So it hasn't happened yet. So I'm hoping it doesn't happen.
Well, stay tuned. We'll be updating you as soon as Jamie's got his first kill. Now I'm only joking.
That'll be one more than Ben Robinson.
Speaking of killers, let's talk about Steve. So some information has been passed to me about more Steve lies. This is from a direct message that was sent to me. Steve says, I called Big Rick and he said someone called him out of the blue to pay the tab that wasn't even in Madawaska. I don't know how they even knew there was an unpaid tab. That story is 100% fiction. In fact, Steve never talked to Big Rick at all. He never called him. And even worse, Steve shit on Rick in a DM to me saying, I don't know what Rick's problem is. I don't know when the last time was that he had a zillion people drinking beer in his bar on a Friday night. Just a total lie for no reason from Steve Robinson. Apparently this person asked Steve not to give his name in full, but he did pay the bill, and Steve just came up with this lie for no fucking reason.
Man, Steve, what are you doing to me? I'm trying to defend you, but as soon as he said that, honest to God, I thought, doesn't sound right. Like, one random Minifan's called in and paid the bill. Like, until the tweet got put out, how did he know that there was a bill? And then, because it wasn't long before Big Rick had said, yeah, it's been paid for. So Steve, man, come on, you got to help me out. I'm trying to be a Steve Minifan, a Steve fan from Australia.
Stevens, I'm going to call him Steven now. That condescending attitude where he would look down at Big Rick. Oh, he just owns a bar.
Yeah,
and that typical wanker fucking shit.
Think about how many people we brought in here. Zillion beers. Shout out Dana.
And now another lie, another Madawaska lie.
Yeah, this was a dead set lie.
For a start, so just remember the day Mike got shit-faced, Steve slept in and missed the beginning of the ice fishing, so Minifans could have frozen to death, and his excuse was that his Dexter mates hit a deer the night before. Now, here's some more lies from Madawaska, same source as before. It's amazing. Steve bought the wrong bait, but we thought he was a main fishing expert. Obviously, we know his loser buddies didn't hit a deer. If you listen to the show when Kirk shits on Mike for being drunk after Madawaska, Kirk says he didn't see any deer, and then Steve says they don't come out in blizzards.
Absolutely.
So he's literally just exposed his own lie.
Exactly, yep.
And
Steve
continues, it's hard for them to move in deep snow, they just hunker down.
There it is.
So he's saying that his loser fucking shithead Dexter friends hit a deer that unhunkered down, ran out and lay in front of their truck, and it caused no damage to the Dexter car.
And where were the photos?
Exactly.
If I hit a deer, there's going to be photos because it's going to do a crap ton of damage to my car. And it's the only thing I could say to save Steve, trying to defend your Steve, is they are his mates.
No, but what he was trying to do was he was trying to come up with any excuse to get his Dexter mates to come and visit him in Madawaska, and they just ended up getting shit-faced on the Friday night,
and
probably.
Didn't want to come.
And he slept in, and then he came up with this whole cockamamie story about them running into a deer. I don't think the Dexter boys were needed. They didn't catch any fish. Just more lies, lies, lies.
I think you look at it, they're Steve's friends, so maybe the deer was hunkered down, but they've gone looking for it. They've seen it on the side of the road and gone, there's a deer, let's kill that one.
I can imagine, Steve, you're right, going and finding deers with their babies asleep.
Yeah, and just running them down.
Yeah, slitting their throats, watching the little deers, bleed out.
Yep, and then chucking them in the back and hanging them up in the garage, as he says he does. So
that's more Steve lies. In a moment, we're going to get into the listener questions to end this and some Australian tour news. But just any thoughts, Jamie, on obviously you and I started the YouTube channel content explosion.
Yes,
we were the first
universe,
one.
Yep.
I heard Kirk's plea and we answered it.
Yep.
But since then, there's been the Miniladies show. What do you think of that?
I love it. I think it's great. It's one of those things where I didn't even think there were women that liked Kirk Minihane Show. I thought it was all us blokes, but then Laura Lynn popped up, and then Tara popped up.
I think
and
a bit
more
of
and more.
makeup sometimes, though, from the cast wouldn't go astray.
No, they look They look beautiful as
normal. Bit of makeup,
normal.
A little bit more exposed cleavage, perhaps.
I blind Mike, right?
Well, I just think the Miniladies could up their look game on the show, but very entertaining. I love Lauren and Brandy. They're the two standouts for me.
I loved when it was the lady who runs the Robber Fans Twitter account when she was going at Kirk Latino, and there was actual controversy on the show. It was really good. So
that's the woman that Kirk abused, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Robinson fans that retired.
I think that was when Kirk realised he was having a breakdown. There's the Mincel show.
I like it.
They've done their third episode I listened to today. The brackets is bullshit, how we could get eliminated.
It's ridiculous. How do you put me up against Chris from Wakeford? How am I supposed to beat him?
I think it's a good show. Obviously, they went too long the second episode.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're going too long generally, but I like their gumption. Is it the Barstool Advisor's got that weird fucking Canadian accent?
Yeah. Well, he is from Canada.
It's hard not to laugh at him the whole time. That's funny coming from us Aussies.
Us Aussies, yeah.
Speak
G'day.
very strange to you Yankees out there. But I like the Mincels. And,
I enjoy them.
And again, lucky I was on the right side of history with this one because Kirk backed me up completely. Them starting an RSS feed was fine. There's nothing wrong with that, you fucking idiots that were complaining. Do you know how hard it is to monetize an RSS feed? It is literally a way of giving away free audio so people could listen to it while they're doing other stuff. So I think to criticise them was way wrong. I actually thought about starting our own RSS feed just to spite everybody. The Aussie Minifan
because of that,
feed, and we could just release our shows on this as well.
Exclusively, but we probably lose a bit of audience if it's not on the YouTube.
Absolutely.
That's where
no one else is going to find it.
Yeah, it'll just be me and my friends.
Couple of other things. The Intern show, awful. Awful.
I like Wilbur. I think Will's good.
Will's okay.
Yeah, Justin just needs to try a little bit less. I think he's good. I think he's pretty funny with the things he does, but he just needs to try a little less hard. They're both just interns. They're not getting paid to be there. They're getting college things or whatever it would be.
I mean, it's good on them for trying, but we don't need it. But it's not as bad as I'll end it with the worst, but Trash Talk obviously was amazing. To have MHB, and I liked
good to have you back.
It was called Trash Talk because MHB was clearly fucked up on something. Couldn't remember half of what he was saying.
I thought it was just from
the bags under his eyes, but...
It's good to have you back, MHB. It's been too long.
That was great. But the worst thing that's ever been put up, maybe in YouTube generally, was the Latino Kirk and Blind Mike Life Loser Challenge special, if you can call it special. It was shocking. The lowest point in entertainment history has been Latino Kirk trying to have a sock pattern game. I mean, that is the lowest point in entertainment history, I think.
Have you listened to WEI recently?
That's true.
Oh, no one has.
Latino Kirk, that sort of segment would go well on WEI, so maybe he's got a future.
It's probably there, yeah. You could get Dale on that Awaken 360
Sorry, Latino
bullshit.
Kirk, we love you. We know you're coming to visit us soon
we know
down
you're a
under.
massive fan of us.
That was fucking horrible.
And I will get that Wayne eventually. It's just been a hard couple of weeks. I haven't really eaten good, so.
Right, we're running out of time, Jamie.
We are.
But let's get through our listener questions. We put a call out for some listener questions. Do you want to read the first one?
Yeah, the first one is from 2kids at 2kids@28. Here's my question. Fuck you and fuck you for hating Steve.
Good question.
I don't hate Steve. I like Steve.
I hate him, though. No, I'm just watching him now. I'm just his watchdog. Puts a foot wrong, is gone. Ned Snark, our good friend Ned Snark, has the show gained any traction in Australia? Well, we've both left iTunes reviews on the Aussie show. One other person has, Thor the Dog Walker. They wrote, "The king is back. So good to have Kirk back on a platform that will back him to no end. Viva la Barstool, viva la Kirk. Laters WEI, you have failed and will end in irrelevance as country 98.7. So that's another rusted on Minifan.
Speaking the truth as well.
So do you think it's taking off here?
I think so. I mean, we know of at
Our
least...
club's doubled.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, more than doubled.
3 to 6, 3 to 8.
Yeah, something like that. But I think it is. It's just... It's when people ask, like, I've been talking about the tattoo that I'm going to get for the show, and they're like, "Oh, what is it about?" And it's just so hard to answer. You're playing beats, you're playing parody songs, but they still have no idea what the references are, and it's just like I put out on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, what episodes would you give to someone to try and get them to understand what this show is? And you just can't, unless you've been there from the start. Like,
the experiment's got out of hand.
Oh, way out of hand, yeah. And credit to the Mincels for coming on after Barstool, because Kirk, had his thing that a lot of the Minifans have been around since the KNC days, and to just come in and adopt the show as your own, it is a hell of a lot different to what KNC was and what Enough Is About Me was, but it's just great that they could just come in, jump on. Some of them didn't come on day one. It could have been like a month into the show, so credit for sticking it out. I bet you they wouldn't have any regrets about it.
Yeah, what we need is to be able to get Kirk Minihane Show merchandise in Australia.
God,
at the moment, we can't get it, and it's a real oversight. We just can't get it. So, I can't wear a Kirk T-shirt around and direct people to the show. So that's something for you to work on, Steve. That's your job, you fuckhead.
Dave Portnoy, that all-business Pete fuckhead from Barstool, shipped to Australia. You did it to Canada. It's about bloody time. Kirk Minihane is huge. He's going to go worldwide. It's not just going to be Australia soon. You're going to want to ship to New Zealand. Like
no, come
those
on.
people.
That's a bit far.
You're going to want to ship to Europe eventually. Maybe not Italy at the moment, but...
Now, we've got another message from Josh Waterhammer. "Hey, man, good luck. Hope all goes well." That's lovely.
Good question.
Now, do you want to read this one from the Texas Mincel?
There's a few questions here. The first question is, how can I get you and Kirk's intern to go eat each other daily?
Well, he's a fuckhead. That's easy.
Yeah, it won't be hard. Trust me. How many Minifans have you created / discovered down under?
Still working on that.
There's a few. They're popping up on the Twitter feed more and more. You'll recognise them eventually. Have you done the bridge climb in Sydney? I did it with the family a few years ago, and it was underwhelming. But one of those days you say you did, it's one of those kind of things. And I haven't done it. And I mean, I don't really live in the city, so it's.
I did it 19 years ago. So for those of you out there, it's you walk up the arch of the Harbour Bridge and you come back down, and it's amazing. So there's 1,400 stairs, and it costs between 300 and 400 Aussie dollars. So that's about $50 US at the moment. And I think it would be fun when the Kirk Minihane Show comes down under. We take Mike up on the Harbour Bridge and leave him there. We don't tell the organiser that he's blind. You're all chained up. And see what happens. Yeah. It'd be like an experiment.
Just start walking away and seeing if he can make it way down. It's not that many stairs. I mean, there's a rail. You find your way eventually.
There's water underneath. It'll be okay.
It's probably a safe landing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that high. It's only like
he'll be on the street
meters?
team then, so it wouldn't be a big loss.
Yeah. I'm very surprised you didn't say Steve and leave him up there.
No, someo's got to produce the show. Well, I don't know if Steve's coming because I want to save on the airfare. I'm happy to produce the show while Steve's back in Boston.
Cullinane could do it anyway.
Absolutely.
It's not that bad.
And last question we got from Blind Advocate, one of my biggest fans. Will you go away? Well, Blind Advocate, get fucked, you cunt, honestly.
Not going anywhere.
He always gives me shit online, and I'm sick of it. I've made my peace with most of the Mincels, but Blind Advocate, honestly, if he wants to throw himself in front of a train, do it. It's not a big loss.
Not my one.
Now, we've got some Australian tour news. I just want to run you through our stated aim. The concert hall at the Opera House holds 5,738. Yep. Now, we know the Wilbur holds only, 1,200.
Yeah.
So our aim is to fill the concert hall at the Opera House when Kirk comes. There are other options. The Joan Sutherland Theatre at the Opera House, there's 6 theatres at the Opera House. This one holds 1,507. So that's a good backup plan if we can't
sell out the main
It depends how many Minifans and Mincels fly over from Boston.
We will sell it out. I have no doubts. The show, we will work hard to get the show big enough by then.
So in our next episode, we're actually going to try and call the Opera House and just see where we're at with booking it for Kirk. And we've got another phone call planned. But I just want to end this episode, Jamie, and I want to ask you a few questions. Because I've been thinking for a while, are we in a cult? Is
Yes.
this Kirk Minihane show becoming a cult?
Yes, and I love it.
So I found some questions here, some things that describe a cult, and this is by a writer, Roseanne Henry. Now, this is a definition of a cult, and I want you to tell me whether you think this world fits into it.
Fits into it?
A cult is a group or movement that, to a significant degree, exhibits great or excessive devotion or dedication to some person, idea, or thing.
100%.
So, I mean, that is... we have excessive devotion to Kirk.
100%.
So that's
not even a joke. Like,
yeah.
it's
B. A cult uses thought reform program to persuade, control, and socialise members. I mean, that's the show.
Yeah.
A daily show, brainwashing us, starting this whole world, bringing all these new rules in. That it's definitely
can't listen to this podcast. Can't listen to this anymore. That is a very good definition of us. And to integrate, but is not really that great because it's hard to integrate people into it because it's hard to explain what it is.
That's right, but we'll get there. C. A cult systematically induces a state of psychological dependency in its members. 100%.
My God,
have you seen the messages that come out at 11:05 if the show's not up yet?
Steve cops are hammering.
We are all addicted to Kirk's genius, his voice.
Yep.
I can't explain it, but we are certainly in that. So far, we've had 3 questions and we've answered yes to all of them.
Yep.
D. A cult exploits members to advance the leadership's goals. Now, I'm going to say Kirk doesn't do this, but our friend Big Steve Fuckhead definitely does this. He's happy to exploit us at every opportunity.
I think Kirk does, in an extent, when we go after his enemies. He just says the word and we go after his enemies. So he uses us
as his
further
weapon.
the show.
He weaponises his fans.
And I'm totally okay with that, Kirk. We go after anyone you want. I'll text Julie DeCaro show every time she's on boring the world.
and our final definition of a cult is causes psychological harm to members, their families, and the community. Well, look at this guy. Look at this guy. That's clearly causing us psychological harm.
I live 7 hours away and I'm here to do this show today.
Yeah, so we've just given you 5 questions to define a cult, and all 5 have basically been yes.
Yes.
So I hate to say it, Minifans, Mincels, all of those in the Miniverse, we're in a cult. Like it or loathe it, that's where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't be a part of any other cult. I was a part of a cult in Australia. Well, it's not our cult, but people refer to it as a cult. We might do some more about that later in another show, but
this guy, train driver, former cult member,
I also play guitar, Matt Carano.
Yeah, struggles with mental illness. I mean, look at him.
And I'm here today.
Look at him. This is a Kirk,
semi-functioning.
This is the absolute ultimate Minifan right here in Australia, and he lives in the middle of fucking nowhere. All right, so I think we should end it because we've been going on for over half an hour, so people are probably switching off.
We don't want a Mincel length episode.
No. So look, thank you for watching the Australian Minifan special coming to you from my studio in Sydney. We'll be back sometime with another show.
Yep.
My thing is, though, since our last episode, I've realised that if the Kirk Minihane show comes down under, they have to go to the outback. So one of the
100%.
shows has to be done, right in the middle of, say, near Uluru, which used to be called Ayers Rock, where the snakes, the crocs, and all that are.
Yeah.
So that's my plan for the Kirk Minihane show tour.
Blind Mike can go swimming in one of those creeks up in the
Blind
Northern
Mike, go for a
Territory.
walk. We'll look after you.
They're fine. They don't attack tourists. It's okay. They only go after Australian people. But
exactly. Well, thanks for watching, everybody, and lots of love to all the Minifans and Mincels out there. Thank you, Jamie, for coming
cheers,
in.
Manners. It's good to be here.
And we'll be back soon with another podcast.
Manners, who I would say has 30 days left to live, probably.
That's what a lot of people wondered. Is
I don't think Steve's gonna let this one. There's
with
no
some free time on his hands.
No, I mean, Steve's
what is the sleuth gonna do?
Well, Steve wouldn't do it now.
Oh, you don't
like,
think
he may
so?
do it like 3 years from now or something. But he's going to get poisoned to death or disappear. Like that is I mean,
hasn't happened yet.
I'm still here. Goodbye.
Later.